Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Prairie Pundits. Today is May 17th. I am James Preston, joined by Brett Swanson and good friend Mike Fell, here to talk all things Prairie Pundit political talk in the land of South Dakota, where the only two constants are that barbed wire does not stop the wind and we need the moisture. So, good morning, fellas. Here we are, bright and early. How are we doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. We're doing good.
Excellent. We're so excited to be here today. We have about 2 weeks left of this incredible primary season, gubernatorial Republican primary season. Gubernatorial drama is hitting the fan, so to speak. We have local races, common council for Rapid City. We have House legislative, Senate legislative races across the board. So hopefully we kind of lean on that topic a little bit today and see where we go from there. But remember, we're looking for magic clips and hot takes. So, gentlemen, whoever would like to go first, take it away.
Mike.
Don't be so damn kind.
Okay. Well, we are really into the thick of things here. As we record this, we're 16 days away from Election Day for the primary races. You set that up really well, James. And it is an extremely competitive battle for governor and an extremely competitive battle for control of the legislature. You have a real battle between essentially two groups, one a little bit more moderate, self-described as sensible and conservative. Then you have another group that is further to the right on the political spectrum that is I would just say kind of a strong coalition of ideological right, what some people call the pipeline community, tracing back to the RL-21 and the carbon pipeline resistance, successful resistance movement, or property rights stand, as you could call it. And you really have a battle. You have current U.S. Congressman, the leader as of right now in the governor race, according to polling, Dusty Johnson. He has financially backed a number of people for the legislature. I have received that from across the board from multiple sources. And, that has created a situation which I am told is right out of the playbook of North Dakota's former governor, current U.S. Secretary of the Interior, former presidential candidate Doug Burgum. That's what Doug Burgum did with the state capitol in Bismarck. Was the state legislature in Bismarck was stacked the deck with his folks. I've been working on with an organization, Concerned Citizens of South Dakota, on a campaign that will launch statewide tomorrow. That's related to what Dusty Johnson has been doing to support candidates that are favorable to his agenda should he become the next governor.
Hey, Mike, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that you should explain that.
Okay. So the campaign or what's going on?
Well, both those things. His attempt to underwrite like-minded legislators so that he's kind of packed the legislature
right
in advance.
Well, I think you just described it better than I could right there, Brett. That is what what we're talking about. Dusty was able to build up a considerable campaign war chest, if you want to call it that. I've heard some people say 6 million, other people say 7 million. That buys a lot of radio and television and digital and Google airtime. But in addition, there's only so much money that goes into a campaign for Dusty Johnson for governor. there's other money going towards these candidates. It's extremely hard to raise money at the local level for a state house or state legislative race.
Don't I know it?
Extremely. You know it.
Don't I
And
know it?
and it is extremely hard. So if someone comes up to you from left field, or in this case Washington D.C., and says, "Hey, I'll give to you." And remember, there's no limit on PAC contributions to legislative campaigns. So you can get a lot of money from very small number of sources. There's individual caps, but there's not the PAC caps. So the candidates that are running for statewide office, if they're getting the funds from Dusty Johnson, then obviously that presents a natural conflict of interest, which is, are they beholden to the voters who cast their ballots, or are they more beholden to the person who wrote the campaign check, and provided the funds? And that, to me, is a real problem. You like to see a pure race where candidates raise their own money, they run their own campaign, and then the chips fall where they may. But there have been a lot of frustration among conservatives that I have been talking to, members of the further right part of the spectrum that I described earlier, that they're just getting outspent all over the place, and they can't keep up with the funds coming into those that are considered pro Dusty Johnson moderates in this race.
Hey,
And
do you have
it's
a list of who these people are who are receiving Dusty money?
So I do not have an exact list. I know there you can go to South Dakota, this Sensible South Dakota PAC.org, and you can see a listing of candidates that are marked as sensible. And it's interesting, the only governor candidate out of the 4 governor candidates that's checked off as sensible happens to be Dusty Johnson. And I guess that means that there's Dusty and 3 unsensible, quote unquote, candidates running against Dusty. I think that is, in essence, your roadmap right there, because that's a PAC that has been active, and they even go so far to go down to city, municipal races, statewide races, and then all the state legislature races. But they have pictures, quotes underneath the pictures that say, like, "I'm a problem solver." And by the way, there's so many problem solvers running for office this year. I've never seen so many problem solvers in one place. But yeah, if you go to Sensible South Dakota, the Sensible South Dakota PAC, that appears to be the treasure trove of Dusty's base of candidate support, because again, he's the only candidate deemed sensible out of the 4 governor candidates. And then it's clearly a promotional, showcase for people that seemingly would be backed by Dusty.
Wow, Mike, I feel like you just blew the lid on some some pretty wild stuff here. Is this legal? This is totally legal under our campaign finance laws.
Well, I guess, I mean, it sure seems to be legal. If you give, again, there's no limit on how much PACs can give.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limit on how many PACs can give. Now, what I guess I don't understand is, I thought if somebody had money given to them in Washington, that it had to stay in Washington. I thought it was like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I thought it was what happens in Washington has to stay in Washington. I don't know that Dusty is worth a lot of money or not, or has a lot of money. I don't know. It's hard to believe that would come out of his pocket. So
Hmm.
it would seemingly come, but again, what's showing, maybe Dusty has a network of donors that's just a machine that can, can just pour money in, because he says, so, give this money. There are plenty of organizations out there that might really want Dusty to be the governor and have Dusty controlling the legislature. Um, I don't know. I'll say this: South Dakota is different than our neighboring states in many respects in terms of the governor starts with is who presents the budget at the beginning of the legislative session. I may have mentioned before in Wyoming and in other surrounding states in Nebraska, the legislature gives the budget ahead of the session to the governor. We have a system in South Dakota where the governor has far more power than the governors in other states do. But if you stack the deck, that's a phrase that somebody in the sales world used at a convention I went to, and it kind of stuck with me. If you stack the deck a certain way, well, it certainly makes it easier to pass the legislation you want to pass. It certainly makes it easier to get a lot more done, quote unquote. And and is this forward thinking? Is this shrewd political playbook operation? It looks that way. It seems to be legal. There'll be a statewide campaign that launches tomorrow that I've been directly involved with called the Dusty Bots campaign that says, hey, if you see someone, you really don't recognize them, but their signs are everywhere. They might be a Dusty bot, or are they with Dusty? And that's a campaign that will go statewide tomorrow.
So
Wow.
are people going to care?
I think that's a great question. And some people, I think that's a question I don't have an answer to. Um, I'll know a lot more in the days ahead when we see what the analytics show as far as people doing homework to find out, quote unquote, who the Dusty bots are, or trying to get more information on who they really are voting for. But I think the fundamental question is, are you want to know who you're voting for, and you want to know what their ties are. Do they belong to we the people, or do they belong to the next governor? And it seems to me that it's a crossing of a line. I mean, to me it is. It crosses a line. If you're running for governor, your job is to run your campaign for governor. It's not to stack the deck, and especially in a universe where it's so hard to raise money, especially this year, with a lot of the money going towards the 4 candidate race for governor. There's only so much money available at one time, and a lot of these legislative races, the candidates running for reelection even have less dollars than they did when they ran 2 years ago. And it wasn't because they didn't do a good job in the last 2 years. It's just there's not as much money available.
Hmm.
So, James, do people care about this or not?
I think that if people knew about it, sensiblesouthDakota.org, I think people would be a little bit eyebrow raised. I don't think anyone has any clue that there could be a manipulation of campaign donations from a candidate themselves. All the attention goes to the PACs and the special interest groups. But in this scenario, it's the special interest group as a candidate for governor. And if it's legal, I think it's out of the former governor North Dakota Borgum's playbook. Uh, Probably very effective because you win if you lose and you win if you win. So your whomever your primary challenger will be may in fact end up with an uphill battle right off the bat. So uh, but what we mentioned about, how like the FEC and state campaign finance laws are two different two different bags of worms, right? And you have to register as in each. I do kind of question anyone donating money to a super PAC meant to support a congressional federal candidate, and then having that money then be used at the state level, because that could go in any direction pretty quick, as far as what ideology exists in the super PAC. So you could cook things, too hot, too cold, or whatever, just right. But I think people care, Brett. And you have both your challengers are sensible, so you better start differentiating yourself right away and get out there and call yourself the unsensible candidate. Because I don't think District 30, the
Actually,
ranchers,
are we talking the Senate or the House for District 30?
House District 30. I
Okay,
didn't
so
see.
there is one candidate running, Steve Saint,
Oh,
that
correct.
is not on the sensible list. He is not getting Dusty money.
Yeah, and I met Steve last week. I've got his brochure here, but after June 2nd, will to be determined. But it looks like Trish and Tim's going to have that one wrapped up, and they're
I don't
both.
know. Steve's running a good campaign. I've been working with
Yeah,
him. Very popular. He's a former military veteran, and
yep.
I have a ton of respect for Steve Saint. And there's some people that are not so happy with Tim. They think he's been doing what the Game Fish and Parks wants him to do instead of what is best in the area, according to local people. And then there's some people that don't think that Trish has been loud enough or spoken up enough. And so,
It's
I mean,
ironic.
I'm just sharing with you that this is what I'm hearing down in District 30.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a race. I think Steve Saint has a chance. I truly believe he has a real chance. He's running a very
Mm-hmm.
good campaign right now, and he's making up ground. So, and he ran
Yeah,
last time to get his name out there.
gotcha. Yeah, I would not sleep on him as a candidate. Loudner and Goodwin.
Ladner.
Oh, Ladner, not Loudner. Yeah, she seems like a very sweet lady. But
She's a wonderful lady.
I just think the disillusionment of the voters is at an all-time high, which again doesn't fare well for incumbents, Trish and Tim, the two T's there. But I'd like to get Brett's perspective, but it sounds like a cow might have stepped on his internet line again.
I
Let's
bet
see.
he comes back in a moment. I would hang in there for Brett right now.
We'll see if he comes back in 8K.
But before he does come back, I think, James, you do see that this is I think it's a big issue. The issue about who's funding candidates and what's really going on, and I think it's big enough issue. A lot of people talked to me about it in the last month, and that was enough in working with concerned citizens of South Dakota when they approached me about working with them on a campaign, that we came up with the Dusty Bots campaign. And the whole thing with Dusty Bots, you might say, like, well, where'd that come from? I'll share the background before Brett comes back.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett's back. But the story goes something like this. You know how when you fill out a form and it says, are you a robot? And you got to like mark that you're a person, and you have chat bots and AI bots and, whatever bots now. And it just kind of hit me. I'm like, well, what about a Dusty bot? What about somebody that in essence has taken funds from Dusty and is expected to go with Dusty? So we came up with the Dusty Bots. It's a lighthearted campaign, which is, I think, a smart way to play it. I think too many campaigns get really serious, and people are tired of serious. They'd rather listen and laugh. And we've got like arcade 80s video game music going in these radio ads, and yeah, it's exciting to see them launch soon tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that's good. You got to have a little tongue in cheek here. Why are people
You
taking
do.
themselves so seriously? I've always wondered that. But this is where I can again just pitch Dan Allers on the other side. I don't think Dan would do this kind of stuff. There's no such thing as Danny bots. I've taken no money for Dan, and I'm so behind him. And but what a cooked campaign season. I mean, it's hot and dry out here. Do we need more cooking? I mean, under this
Well,
hot sun. I mean, we got a
all
little
I
rain
know,
last night, but gee whiz.
all, all I know is I can feel the drama coming to a crescendo.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Miller, South Dakota back in November, and I put on an event, the Why Not event with our friends, conservative friends over in Wyoming, and I just remember you can just feel it in the Midwest, especially when you're going to have like that humidity in the morning and that means it's going to be storms at night. Like the sky is like clear, but like we're going to have tornadoes tonight or we're going to have severe weather tonight. And then you do. And you could feel that coming a mile away, and man, is it here right now. And but the conservatives that don't have as much money, this might be a great equalizer or a leveling of the playing field, because you can't. South Dakotans, what I know about South Dakotans is they do not take well to somebody pressing their buttons or making them unaware of what's going on. When they discover something, they're like, hey, wait a minute. Are you playing fair? I mean, that's just kind of the South Dakota way. And, I know that Dusty's been in office a long time. He was voted highest customer service rating for people who visit Washington and get a visit to his office. And, I know that he's got the Boy Scout image with the Dick Clark genetics, but I mean, at the end of the day, people don't appreciate when money's getting thrown around at the legislative level by somebody that is running for governor. And I think it's going to prove to be a
Mm-hmm.
big issue in the weeks ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Final 2 weeks.
Oh, Brett, you're muted. I see his lips moving, but I can't hear Brett. Brett, can you hear us?
I can't hear him either.
I know he was having some upload, download issues, but we'll see that. And you're wearing a Padres jersey. Can I throw in something here? Can I throw in a pitch here? It's
Sure.
more of a knuckle
Oh,
screw
well,
than a
you bet. Go
curveball.
ahead.
Well, I don't know if you've been paying attention to these
Okay.
massive ads that Dusty's been putting out. Now, there's a reason they show Dusty playing catch with his son and catching the ball, but not throwing the ball. Do you pick up what I'm saying?
No.
There's an ad out there, and he's having the best time of his life with his kiddo, and he's but he catches the ball with one hand, and he looks afraid of the ball coming at him, and he's grinning the whole time. Anyone who has a little background in baseball looks at that and goes, "Oh man, that guy can't throw." And when Dan Allers, say Dan Allers, he's the Democratic gubernatorial candidate. He's on the ballot. And let's say Dusty pulls off his flashy war chest move. I want to see the two of them go out there and throw the first pitch out and let South Dakotans determine who can actually throw a ball. Because Dan's got heat, all right? Dusty ain't. That guy, he's afraid of the ball. He he's not even wearing a hat. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that guy's never played baseball in his life, and no
But
wonder he'd
did
be type of guy.
did Dusty catch it? Did he catch it?
Yeah, but he ducked away from it and
Of
he caught
course,
it with
we
one
don't know
hand.
how many takes it
Exactly.
took. It could have been the 20th take. Hey, I got it. Could have been like that moment in Bad News Bears when Lupus catches the ball in snow cone fashion right at the back.
He puts his hand up and it shows up, right?
Yeah.
Oh. But that's
He
Dusty
caught
Johnson
it.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to blemish his face. He might have taken one in the schnoz. But hey, let's see if Brett's technical issues are solved. Hey, gosh darn it,
Darn.
man. Now what in the actual hell is going on with him? uploaded. I mean, it's recording. It's just not. I'm at 900. Oh, here I can see how much your uploads. Oh, so I can see from my angle here as the host
Yeah.
how much megabyte you and I are using and how much he's using. We're sitting around 903. Brett's
Right.
hovering around 55.
Oh, okay. So he needs a rural fiber optic boost.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, I'm in the
Most definitely.
thriving metropolis, Rapid City's second fastest growing community of Box Elder, and I've got the awesome super fast Midco thing going on. Thank you, Midco.
Yeah, a little product placement in there. Why not?
I guess I won't get anything for it, but they're good. They do a good job.
Yeah. um, I'm gonna just type into Brett here. All right. All right.
We got a message on our text that might be
That was
for
from
Brett.
me. That was
Oh,
from
it's from
me.
you. Okay.
Yeah. I'm multitasking here.
Well, I am impressed on the fly that you can pick up something like the flow of megabytes or bits and identify the problem. That's something most podcast hosts are incapable of doing is providing a diagnostic checkup on the status of the guest connections. So I will jump in just to keep the flow going here. James, I think that what a lot of people should know is what South Dakota has within the Republican Party is not unusual. This is happening in basically every state in the country that's a red state. The Democratic Party has lost its scale or its influence at the legislative level. So you have moderate Republicans that many people would say would be the old Democrats, and you have conservative Republicans that are considered, basically, the Republicans of yesteryear, and the primary is totally where the action is, because that's going to determine who has the power of the legislature and the governor's mansion, the legislative and executive branches. And, we may never in a two-party system ever go back to a day where inside of red states, it's different in swing states or purple states, but we may never see again this, that strictly down the aisle Republican Democratic split like I grew up with in Nebraska. And I don't know that, this is just kind of our new world, but inside the Republican Party, there's also frustration among party officials because it is understood by the code that's been in place a long time that party leaders are to abstain or refrain from picking favorites, because the idea is we're all one party under the same tent and we can't pick favorites. So that's that's really a frustration within the leadership of the GOP, because some people say, hey, this group over here is not following our platform, and that's unacceptable. And other people are saying, this group over here, though, is not reflecting the values or the principles of our party. And you've got some pretty high emotions that circle around that.
Can you hear me?
Yay, we can.
Perfect timing.
I have two questions. One is, are you telling me that Trish and Tim are receiving money from that pack, from Dusty's pack. They are. Okay. So can you tell me what you think?
I can't confirm it, by the way. It just appears that that's the case to me.
Okay.
So
All right. There's something to consider. So what would you rank as his top 3 if he were to become governor? What are his top 3 agenda items that he wants their support, so that because he's going to try to hit it fast, right? Right when he gets elected in the first legislative
yeah.
session, he's going to do whatever he wants quickly. What is it?
Well, I think a lot of it's going to probably be aimed towards economic competitiveness. Um, something along the lines of, well, what do the corn growers want? What do these different groups want that they don't have now, or that they want to see, or what are we going to do to get the data centers, or what are we going to do to get um, the various I think a lot of it's going to be strategic programs to to go ahead and to fund different projects, and to do things that seemingly would make South Dakota a little bit more competitive. But only I don't know everything when it comes to that answer, but based on what I think who is supporting Dusty, and understanding what the by and large the moderate Republican mindset is within the party. I think it's probably to try to advance the state economically um, with investment. I mean, that would be my guess.
Uh, I had a follow up to that. So the Brett's question was, what would be his first priorities? And I think he would be getting on the ground and kissing the feet of the farmers and soybean farmers that he has pushed to the brink of bankruptcy with his hardline talks, supporting the illegal tariffs and cutting off 80% of their market. And you have Dusty's showing up in these software companies and pushing that area of the economy in South Dakota, but that is a minute part. Our economy is hugely it's ag by tens of billions of dollars over the next highest, which is hospitality. So, you watch Xi Jinping's reactions to the Trump administration state visit this week. I'm not sure if y'all seen that. Um, there's a really cringy moment where Stephen Miller grabs the hand of Xi Jinping too long and holds it and stares at him too long in a very disrespectful, incredibly disgusting display of diplomacy. But, you know, Dusty's been such a hardliner on China. At the same time, they have been a partner for us in the soybean industry forever. And he better start figuring out how to reach those folks because they're the ones hurting. And I don't know what he would ever, do. I don't follow Dusty necessarily as far as what he would do or not do. But if he has any bit of sense of him, if he's that sensible, he'd start looking at the soybean markets because that's been anything but sensible.
So do his competitors have a chance?
I think some do. I don't think that Roden right now is in a very good spot. Um, I think that Hansen is coming on pretty strong, stronger than I expected. But still, he's running from way back in the race because he did not raise a lot of money, nor did he consistently talk to voters over the balance of this election cycle. And then I think Doden has run a phenomenal campaign, but Doden, and I think his eliminate property taxes message has more traction than people think. And I think he's getting underpolled because the MAGA folks don't answer the phone when the pollsters call. But that being said, I think Hansen is um, taking a lot of potential Doden votes off the table. And I mean, I think it's going to be very, I think Dusty right now is definitely in the lead, but I think Doden is closer to Dusty than people realize or that the polls show. And I think Hansen is coming on strong. I think Roden's losing a lot of ground in the pack attack ads. And I don't know that it was Dusty's pack. But someone told me it was, but the attack pack ads that are saying that Roden raised everybody's fees and taxes, and he's a tax and spend governor that we can't afford anymore. I think those punches have been landing, and he didn't do well in those statewide forums or debates, and he was not elected to his incumbent position. Instead, of course, he was lieutenant governor and moved up to governor when Nome went to Washington. And so I just think Roden right now, I mean, the question is, and this is a big question, people who support Roden, are some of them going to bail on Roden because they're going to be like, I don't think Larry's going to win, so I'm going to go vote for somebody else. And that's a very legit scenario in a crowded 4-candidate race where there's only so much oxygen in the room.
It's a pretty decent analysis. I don't have much to add to that because I'm just waiting for Dan Allers to go up and start playing catch with whomever he's going to go against. Brett, maybe you missed this. You're having some technical difficulties, but Dusty Johnson can't play baseball. He just, he caught the ball like a weakling, like the kid who would, play right field in Little League.
I wish we'd had the link and we could have watched it.
Probably
It's
can.
interesting that their team didn't recognize the fact that he is playing a sport he doesn't understand. But maybe other people don't notice.
Yeah. By the way, does the commercial have a moment right out of Field of Dreams where Dusty's boy says, "Dad, would you like to have a catch?"
Well, better yet, I tried to find the video, and the only video that comes up is the Randy Johnson killing the bird.
Oh boy,
Randy Johnson, the lefty, smokes that
100
bird.
miles per hour. A bird happens at that moment to fly in front of the fastball.
Yeah.
Oh my!
What a horrible twisted universal
for the bird.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it was quick.
Yeah. I think that was a ball after he hit the bird. It was probably not a strike.
Depending if the guy swung or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we're having fun.
We're
having fun throwing Dusty under the bus because, have you seen the ads with him getting on the bus, and he's got Becky Drury following him, and it's a really kind of hypocritical ad. I saw it from state legislator Aaron Healy, posted it online. And the irony is that they're calling out Dusty for being so pro data center, but then at the same time, they're using an AI generated image to call him out. And the irony was not lost there. But somehow Becky Drury was sitting on the bus with Dusty. And Becky is running in my district, 34. And she's a very kind lady overall.
She's a wonderful lady. I work with Becky with her campaign advertising, and she's a wonderful lady. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so why then the bus followed by all these consultants and lobbyists carrying briefcases of cash? I didn't quite understand that whole thing. But here's my endorsement for Dan Allers. He's going to if he can change his campaign up just a touch, get out there a little bit more. What do you guys think about him getting his face out before the primary? I mean, I know he's traveling the state corner to corner, meeting with folks, doing what he should be doing. But do you think it would make sense for him to spend some money right now on a video ad?
I wouldn't hurt. I mean, I think that right now it's an very steep uphill battle for Dan. But I think that it's always a good idea So put yourself in front of voters when their mind is on politics. You have to understand that people today, they really hate politics overall. They do not like it. The people that are into it, they're really into it, but most people are not into it. So what that means is if you can catch most of South Dakota that still gives politics some weight or level of importance to show up and vote, which may only be about 1 in 3 people anymore, but, um, that means that that's your window of opportunity to connect wi and resonate your message and to introduce yourself or whatever Dan's station in this campaign happens to be, because you're not gonna after June 2nd, no one's gonna pay attention all summer to politics. They're just gonna tune it out. They're gonna stay tuned out. So it's one of those things. It's like Halley's Comet. If the comet's coming close, you better get your telescope out. I mean, that's kind of how it is right now.
Mm.
I think that if he thinks that Dusty's going to win, and that I think one of Dusty's weaknesses is this idea of being a pipsqueak, and the baseball thing really falls into that category, that he's not a manly man. And if Dan went against that, and if he helped Doden win or somebody else win, I would say that that's a plus, that you can say that you took the trophy, or you helped take the trophy of Dusty, and then you're put against a really much harder right wing, at least by perception, than Dusty, who seems like he's not right wing, but he's probably as bad as Doden.
Mm.
If he has the money, though, I
He's
would say
not
that
seen that way.
I just think that everything would come down to his budget, and I don't know if he has the budget.
Well, here's another twist on that strategy, Brett. Since Dan and John Hanson are both from Del Rapids, now they had, John, I think, replaced Dan's seat back when. But if he were to say go after John Hanson, now that says to the voters, the Republican voters, that maybe John Hanson's the underdog threat, and that could even further dilute the vote. And similar to what Adam Schiff in the gubernatorial race did, or excuse me, the Senate race in California. And
Oh,
Mike,
yeah.
we had spoken about that because
Yeah.
how it's the the top three, and so by putting
He
all
propped
his
up my man Steve Garvey. Go
Yeah.
go Padres.
exactly,
Padres legend, Steve Garvey,
so if Dan were to
Republican.
excuse me, so if Dan were to prop up John Hanson, now it kind of, or even Roden, how about that? Then you kind of take the Doden and Dusty dynamic and
Well,
kind of put it
well,
off the table.
well, we already talked earlier in this podcast about people paying attention to other races besides their own, and then throwing money or support behind those races, and it almost feels like people are flipping channels, throwing money here and there, and I wish, if I had a prayer for one thing, if I wish we could put things into one word, it would be purity. I just wish that people would just run one race with one set of dollars and shake hands or call the other person when it's over and say, "Hey, you ran a good race, and good luck to you." And then serve the people of South Dakota with no strings attached. And that's the thing that gets me. If there's money going here, money going there, with all these packs and everything else, doggone it, that's not pure. Yeah, they just want, just a pure situation in politics in our state.
What are the most microbes found on dollars? So when you have the dirty dollars involved, it's a petri dish of disgustingness. And so if you get the Citizens United repealed, for example, or rewrite state charters for what businesses are and are not allowed to perform, and you start pulling that money back. I mean, from the super PACs, this unlimited contribution fact. I mean, that has been the gasoline on the fire since 2011 when the Supreme Court ruled that. And I mean, Citizens United has done more damage to our democracy than I think maybe any other bill or repeal from the Supreme Court that we've seen in a long time. TBD on the Voters' Right Act repeal of Article 2 and how that's going to pan out. But and the redistricting fights that we're seeing, people are fed up. Like you didn't get the money, let the politicians choose the voters, right? Let's gerrymander districts. It's legal now, and you don't even have
Yeah,
to look at.
that's terrible. Yeah, I hate gerrymandering. Yeah, and it's just back to my point about you want purity, and it's so terrible. If your district looks like the overhead view of a salamander, that's not okay. And there are districts like that all over the country, and both parties are guilty as charged right now nationwide with what they're trying to do with gerrymandering. And it's like, don't people realize it's we the people? It's about the voter. It's not about the party. And I've advocated for years that we'd be better off with getting rid of a two-party system and having a multiple party system like they do in Europe. I tell you, just where we're at right now it's not a good place.
Mm-hmm. Brett, you want to tie that one off?
Well, the money is the biggest problem. And it was a problem before Citizens United, and that just amped it up. So I don't know. That's how you get around that. I'm not sure.
Well, gentlemen,
And it's the worst part of. I can say firsthand, that this is the worst part of campaigning is raising money. And if you're good at raising money, does not mean you're going to be a good candidate. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no parallel here at all.
Right.
So
Excellent point, Brett. That's an outstanding point. Just because you can raise money, and sometimes the raising money, I've seen it where somebody is a millionaire contractor and it's easy to raise money because they're like, well, I better give to this guy's campaign because I want to get that bid. I want to get that contract on that construction site or on that work. I mean, that goes on all the time. And then there's maybe someone that's running for the first time and they're a librarian and they don't know anybody. And it's going to be really hard for that person
mm-hmm.
to raise money. And, heck, maybe they find half the town for late library books too, and it's even harder to raise money for that person. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just not the same for every person. Some people are outgoing and can sell. Some people are connected, and then some people are just they're just not. And I love being in sales, but I'll tell you this: when I went to raise money for somebody a couple years ago for a campaign, man, I thought it was going to be easy, and I got squished like a bug. I mean, it was way more challenging than I ever imagined because so many people were like, Mike, we like you. We like what you're doing, but I'm already with this person. And so I can't give you anything. And it's like, wait a minute, but that's politics today. And it probably has always been that way.
Last little thought on that is the government ethics, your requirement for the president. May 12th, this last week, he had to put forth his financial spending from January through March, the first quarter. He made over 3,600 trades in companies that had direct involvement with his policies. And what's worse is that taking money from those contractors, Mike, is that then you turn around and invest in those companies, and then you cater your actions, such as, bombing Iran, blocking the Strait of Hormuz, into raising your stock value. And that's
Yeah.
the grift. And I think
Oh,
anyone who goes into politics to enrich themselves, is committing a form of ethical and moral treason for the country.
well, you're onto a very, very important subject. And, I think I don't know that our founding fathers were aware of what things would look like, but there was always checks and balances. And the idea that the executive branch would have this much power over both the judiciary and legislative branch, that was not supposed to happen this way. And we have an unprecedented amount of power concentrated right now in the executive branch, to the point that it almost feels like the legislative branch is a tail being wagged by the dog. I mean, it is just not a good situation. And I'll just say that I think that right now, um, we just have to, uh, yeah, it's just we're not in a good spot right now. As far as I've heard so many people say this about Donald Trump, and I'll just finish with this thought of, well, I like Trump. I've heard so many people say, you know why I like Trump? Because he doesn't have to do this. He could go and play golf, and but he's running for president again after all they did to him and everything else. And, well, he didn't even have to do this. He could just play golf at Mar-a-Lago. And then you think about, the question is, but what about greed? What about someone that sees opportunity, generational, multi-generational wealth earning opportunity in their 70s and soon to be 80s in the case of Donald Trump? I mean, this is such an opportunity. Um, it's going to benefit his family long after he's gone. But I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. People say, well, I sure love that Trump doesn't have to be president and he chooses to be president. But boy, there's a lot of opportunity to make a lot of money, isn't there?
I think that's such a misunderstanding of who people really are, that I guess they can be duped. That he could be
Yeah.
he is playing golf, you idiot. He's playing golf as president. I mean,
Yes, he is.
I find that just an absurd argument. I mean, I know
I'm
what you're
telling you,
saying, and I know that they
yeah.
do it, but it is so thoughtless that it's laughable.
We're laughing right now.
They're the same folks who are waiting for their Trump mobile phone to arrive.
That's
They're waiting for their
that's
America
a joke, but that is not a
250
joke.
coin.
That is
Yeah.
exactly the truth.
Yeah.
The 600,000 people sent $100 to get one of those crappy phones. I mean, I need that mailing list.
Or the Trump stakes.
Or the long list.
Trump University.
He is.
It's-
I mean, we're accepting this. I don't want to keep going, but we're accepting this grift. This is corruption at the absolute
Yeah.
highest level,
Oh.
and there we are just saying, well, that's him. That's the way he does it. Whatever. It's all wrong.
Yeah, but no, you're right. You were right on. And I know that I'm not the only Republican out there that notices this and just shakes their head, because it's not right, and it's not what our founding fathers had in mind. But it is a reminder of something that was said in a very articulate way by Jock Ewing in 1978 on the television show Dallas. And he was talking to his boys, Bobby and J.R. Ewing, and he says, "Don't you know, power isn't something you give. Power is something you take." And man, think about that for a moment. We are witnesses, front row seat spectators to the ultimate jockeying mantra of power is something you take. And Trump has taken it and taken it, and his own people in his own party in Congress, including Dusty Johnson, have not stood up to him to take it back. They have not. And this is what you get when you have the president's own party rolling over and living in fear of primary defeats like what happened in Louisiana yesterday. And there you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, we just got a word from our sponsor, Common Sense. A reminder to the listeners to not take ivermectin. Ivermectin is not a cure-all. You should not take a horse dewormer for any reason. So sorry, we had to throw that pitch in. Common Sense has been funding our podcast secretly from the shadows of the heart of America. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Today is May 17th. Again, Brett Swanson, Mike Fell, and James Preston here. I'm going to wish you a wonderful rest of your Sunday and an even better week coming up. And we'll see you on the other side after this, the poo snowballs stop flying at fans. Yeah.
All right.
Have that imagery.
All right. Bye.